Did you guys hear about my best friend Brii? If you followed since last month at least, you've probably seen her around. Well, today I'm handing her the mic. So go ahead, Brii.
Okay, so I'm still a fairly new addition around here. I can imagine you're wondering about some of the same things that you were before about Agni. You don't know me at all yet, so I'd like to fix that before anyone bothers asking. I'm Briinah Dragonis. Zodiac Gemini. Birthday May 25th. Blood type A. Element Air Spirit. So, firstly, when Agni and I got to be friends, we always got a kick out of the fact that both of our birthdays are on the 25th. March and May. One little bit of trivia. I'm actually a year younger than her too. 10 months to the day. I have my secondary element listed here because I actually have both fairly in an equal balance. Because of that, it makes it so my air is tamed by my spirit, but my spirit is freed by my wind. One of my professors told me that once, and I'm still not quite sure what it means. Briinah, or Brii for short, is a draconic name with a layered meaning. The first is Brii, meaning beauty, satisfaction, fulfillment. It's a name my father gave me because I was born with the softest golden scales he'd ever seen. He'd always wanted dragon children, but with so few of his own kind in the future, he'd all but given up on that when he met my mom. There's a lot of circumstances there that would take a lot of time to explain, and I'm probably not supposed to yet, honestly. It's a lot. But due to some really ancient magic, she was able to make us full dragon when we were born. Me and some of my younger siblings, much to my father's satisfaction. And I was the first to fulfill that lifelong wish of his. So that's always felt really good. Na means fury, and actually came from my mom as a reminder to stay fierce and always fighting. Put them together, and Briinah means sister, and when I was born, I was their first and only daughter. I'm student body president of my graduating class. I'm graduating this year. I'm typically the one people ask for help in arguments and other negative dissertations before they get the counselor involved. I don't make friends very easily. Most people don't really seem to like to be around me much, but a lot of my peers are intimidated because I have a habit of being passionate and serious-minded about most things. I'm not quick to laugh unless I truly thought it was funny. I don't smile for the hell of it either. Do not tell me I should smile more often unless you want a much bigger attitude, and for probably way longer. I have some major issues with the patriarchy, and yes, we still deal with it in our time now. Although things are better, there are way more normal guys that aren't complete creeps, incels, and worse. The fear of being randomly AR'd or murdered isn't a constant concern where I live. If you're walking at night, it's not like it doesn't happen, but it's mostly politicians and other men in power that are the problem. We still see incels sometimes, though. But Karens are more of a prominent problem. Entitlement mostly goes up, not down. We stop demonizing men as much a few hundred years ago too, so that's nice. A lot of that was made possible because we have better health care, paid for by the state. As in a country, not the old US version of the word state. Keep pushing for that, everyone. Better health care and bettered us all. I don't really understand why the nation won't just handle it. It keeps prices fair because no one really wants to mess over the government, right? And when a nation's workers are being paid well and have good health care to lean on, statistics show not only do they work better, but they prosper. It's not just the moral option, it makes good business sense. Anyway, enough about all that, I guess. I go to Mayflower Academy with Agni. Before she graduated, as she told you in her bingo book. I've been there since 6th grade, which is the youngest you can start going there. I'll be graduating this year. My mom is someone you'll get to know one day. She's really a badass. She's confident, prettier than she thinks she is, and could kick ass back and forth through the galaxy. My father is a grand beast. He's where I get my golden dragon from. He's one of the most powerful dragons currently alive. There aren't that many of us right now, but my parents are literally doing their very best to change that. If they have their way, I'll have lots and lots of siblings. Ooh. Anyway, the relationship he and my mother have is my guide for the kind of relationship I want one day. They're cute. Even though I'd never call either one of them alone cute, they listen to each other, would do anything for each other. Only bad thing I can think of is I heard from some of my family members that they just can't function without each other. A little messed up, but they function great now, so whatever works, I guess. They've been together for a really long time. Anyway, you're probably a little confused. I'm not exactly the Baldur's Gate style half dragon, but that's also because when it comes down to it, my mom's not exactly human either. Even I don't know how alien DNA works with dragons. When I started working with Agni, she wasn't totally sure what she was doing yet. Just coloring pictures of her family when she was in high school. We were family, but we didn't really have anything to do with each other outside of the yearly Yule celebration and birthdays. She wanted to have someone reliable that she could trust, and I offered. I'm good at that kind of stuff, organizing and whatnot. I'll be adding the experience to my college application for HR. It'll look good on my resume, I think. I took a lot of weight off of her, and it was a lot of fun. Sometimes she even listens to me. She's become the very best friend I've ever had, and high school wouldn't have been much fun without her. I like playing chess with my twin brother and one of my older brothers and an older cousin. I'm hopeful it'll help me learn about war tactics better. That's the job in the castle I'd like one day, to be the defense minister. Even if I'm not, I just like playing. Checkers is fun too. A Ministry of Defense, also known as a Department of Defense, is the part of our government responsible for matters of defense, and military forces. Found in states where the government is divided into ministries or departments. Such a department usually includes all branches of the military and is typically controlled by a defense minister or secretary of defense. The role of a defense minister varies considerably from country to country. In some, the minister is only in charge of general budget matters and procurement of equipment. while in others, the minister is also an integral part of the operational military chain of commands. Historically, departments like these were referred to as Ministry of War or Department of War, even though they usually had authority over only the army of a country, with a separate department governing other military branches. Before World War II, most ministries of war were army ministries, while the Navy and the Air Force would have had their own departments. As late as 1953, for example, the Soviet Union had a Ministry of War, as well as a Ministry of the Navy. The tendency to consolidate and rename these departments coordinates until mostly separate compounds of defense, air, land, navy, arose after World War II. As for my country of Mayflora, our defense ministry is heavily based on your modern version of Canada. What that all means is that it's separated into the Mayflora Intelligence Agency, the Mayflora Housing Agency, and the review boards that oversee them. Me, if you haven't guessed by now, is intelligence. I'd be in direct contact with the knighthood to make sure our country has the proper resources to maintain the socialist democracy put in place by our monarchs. I know that probably sounds like a lot of politics that don't really go together, but we put forth a lot of effort to make it work. And that's more of a part of someone else's story anyway. So, right, I mentioned that one of my favorite games is chess. I really appreciate strategy games, and chess is like the grandmother to all of them. No, seriously, the first person I ever played with was Agni's great-grandmother, and she told me how the game of chess, at least what we call chess today, was born out of the Indian game Chaturanga, sometime before 600 BCE. The game's popularity in Asia and Europe grew, and almost 1,000 years later, became the chess game you play now. One of the first masters of chess was Rodrigo Ruy Lopez de Segura, a Catholic priest whose 1561 treatise, The Book of the Liberal Invention and Art of the Game of Chess. It was one of the first books about modern chess in Europe. Lopez contributed greatly to the discussion of opening theory. See, when playing chess, it's more important to know why certain moves are made rather than just knowing that certain moves are the correct move in a given situation. The opening that a player uses often sets the entire tone on how the game will develop in the mid-game and end-game. And yeah, sure, beginners really should focus on tactics, endgames, and concepts like attacking and prophylaxis, preventative moves. It can't be understated how important your opening move is if you want to win. And Lopez had 2 chess openings to his credit. The King's Gambit, classic, which is an age-old aggressive opening that a lot of romantic chess players employed for well over 300 years. Some really strong chess players you might know include Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, Morozovich. The other one actually bears Lopez's name in the title. The Ruy Lopez Chess Opening, also called the Spanish Opening or the Spanish Game, is one of the oldest and most analyzed openings in chess history. Now here's why chess is so important to me. Chess overall is an important game to learn if you're thinking critically on how to manage resources and the military. It's why world leaders would often use games like chess in order to break the ice. However, it also revealed several things about how those countries conducted war, and it could almost be seen as a sort of trial battle, but with none of the bloodshed. Wish we'd go back to that for a while. Sure, it doesn't have any fog of war mechanics and stuff like that, but knowing how to control the board from the start is vital, not only in chess, but also in foreign relations. Another thing that's important to consider in a game of chess is the relative point values given to each piece. These point values are considered relative because the value of a piece can vary depending on situation and strategy. But more widely accepted is that pawns are worth 1 point, knights and bishops 3 points each, rooks are a 5, while the most valuable piece aside from the king is the queen at 9 points. The queen is the most powerful and valuable piece in a standard game of chess. And who doesn't love a good girl power game? Let's be serious, the king takes 1 move at a time. She's obviously a girl boss. Lara Croft, Samus Aran, Jill Valentine, Ellie, and Bayonetta, all queens in their own specific storylines, and they've been inspiring feminine figures for a lot of female gamers. Actually, did you know the queen started out as an unorthodox chess piece? These fairy pieces are used in chess variant and problems often needing to be defined per situation. Some might not even be used except in a specific game. The queen comes from a fairy piece used in the Persian version of chess called Shantraj, originally called the furs, but it was a weak piece that could only move 1 square diagonally. This piece was eventually replaced in 1492 during Isabella I's reign as an inspiration to her great political power. And I guess Isabella was one of the earliest feminists. Okay, calling Isabella a feminist is anachronistic as hell. Besides, she still helped uphold the biggest patriarchy in the form of the Catholic Church. That said, what her reign did prove was that women were perfectly capable leaders and paved the way for the feminist movements in the Western world, as well as Europe. The world could now see a woman could have literally taken over the world easier than most men that tried. But she was more concerned with making them think like she did. Not entirely sure how happy I am with that one, but moving right along. I hope I didn't put anyone off bringing that up. I'm pretty vocal about my beliefs on the control men have had over the world since they figured out things bleed and stop arguing when you bonk them on the head. One of my brothers is really toxic, and it's easy for me to see how his attitude bleeds over into my other brothers. It puts a strain on his relationship with me and my sisters. But I won't complain about him or my personal life too much here. Modern feminism of the 2500s varies from the 2020 wave of feminism you're used to. Aren't women in that time still fighting for abortion rights? I've also heard you guys just don't bother to getting around to testing your R kits when someone gets SA'd. Police officers are literally just kind of putting off taking care of your R kits. Something's got to get done about that, and soon. We don't have those problems anymore, really. It's not like they went away, but it's not like that anymore. It always makes me so sad when I hear about how you guys used to live. Canada, New Zealand, and others are currently leading the charge in your time, right? I thought America was supposed to be the best. Prove it. Do something to help your fellow man, better than any other country has. Stop talking about how much you think you're the best. Arguing and fighting over how you are the best because you dominate. Blah, blah, blah. Be the best. Actually do it. Talk is cheap. That's why your dollar isn't the highest anymore. Don't be cheap. Be genuine. Anyway, healthcare in Mayflora, Dighton, and Ardblom is just healthcare. We don't blame victims, and we don't gatekeep gender norms. I guess maybe a lot of you might think that sounds idealistic, but if this or any of the other sci-fi shows and movies you guys enjoy has tried to tell you anything, it's that those ideals are closer than you think. We all stopped worrying about having to be on top of everyone else. Equality is powerful, and that's a Mayfloran motto. Mind your own damn business and actually evaluate how long these things have existed.
Oh, actually, you had a change here to your hair, so update that to...
Thanks for coming by again, everyone. Look for Agni, or sometimes me, on Thursdays, 3 p.m. Pacific. As always, Sherlock on Fiverr provided the lines for this project, and his business is down in the description right next to our Patreon link. Patreon is the very best way to support this channel. Not only are you supporting us, but then we turn around and change that money into great art, music, voiceovers, comics, and maybe even merch like shirts, hats, and plushies one day. I don't know about you guys, but I seriously would love to have an Andrew plushie one day, for posterity's sake.
I'm telling.
Shut! Damn it. Shit, where was I? But you'll also get access. You can't tell him. You'll also get access to Tales of Atonement coloring pages and Monomyth and the Monomyth coloring book and even the unpublished scripts, so that you can read the story way ahead of time. You're not going to really tell him, are you? I really don't want you to tell him. It would be so embarrassing. Check the link if you want to look into that. Some of our great patrons include Shadow Fox, Arya Gamari, Charles Tam, Jason Moreland, and Landera Lumen. Don't tell Andrew, please. Your brother gets weird when he knows somebody likes him.
Don't tell your brother then.
Deal.